But what I realized is that I never really had meetings with her, checked on her. I didn't do all the things you're supposed to do. It was like I would just teach her how to sell, but I didn't do anything around culture or career progression. But you see, no one had ever done that for me.
Yeah.
Things that you know now about leading people, 30 years ago, you just kind of got people to sell and to do a good job and to do the job that you hired them to do.
This week I have a bonus episode for you from Russell Pearson's podcast, The Marketing Report, with a conversation with me about my business story from my early career teaching speed reading, then high school English, through graduating from film school and working in television, to founding my training company, Brainpower Training. Now it's over to Russell Pearson to introduce me as his guest on the Marketing Report podcast. Happy listening.
Welcome to the Marketing Report. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 98. The Marketing Report is a podcast for passionate yet frustrated business owners who are looking for a competitive edge. And today's discussion I'm going to have with a fantastic guest is all about evolution, reinvention, and how to be specific in whatever market you're selling to. But let's do the proper bio. Our next guest is a keynote speaker and author on team transformation and leading people. Her catchphrase is workplace culture is hiding in plain sight. Is yours toxic or flourishing? Host of management podcasts, Manage Self, Lead Others, and author of Workplace Wisdom from 9 to Thrive. Please make her feel welcome, my friend, Nina Sunday.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Russell. Hello,
Thanks
Russell.
for joining me. This is a conversation. Nina, thank you so much for joining us. And the reason why I wanted to speak to you is because business adaptation and evolution, you know that I'm interested in that side of things. We've been friendly for, 5-6 years or something like that. And in that time, what I've noticed is that you've got stories on stories and you've got history on all sorts of different areas of business and businesses that you've been a part of over the years. And I thought I need to get you on here to discuss lessons about sort of constant reinvention. And so I guess the place to start is at the end, and then we can go back to the start, which is what are you doing now?
Right.
And where did you start?
Fantastic. I'm really happy to do that exploration.
Yeah.
And where I am now, I have probably 2 or 3 products. COVID gave me the time to launch a podcast, which has a life of its own, Manage Self, Lead Others. And that's sort of a lovely thread in my life now. I get to talk to experts every week or two. Yeah. And I find that I'm actually self-educating because I'm at the point now where I look at a book on my shelf and I go, what questions do I want to ask that author? I'll invite them on the podcast. I just ask them my own questions. So
100%.
If you want free workshopping, but you have to do it elegantly, but you're actually sharing it to the whole world. But also I have my national training company, which I launched as Brainpower Training in 2001 when I took on board an angel investor.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And so we rebranded, and then I'll explain what I was before that. I've made e-learning in the format of a 30-day challenge because I found a platform that hosts it in a way that you just have to work out the design so it fits their platform. It's self-automating. So
Great.
I can just switch it on. Once I've created it, I can switch it on as required. And I see it as a lead generator, not necessarily just to sell the seats, but also for my clients, it's a sweetener when I put it to a proposal.
So right now, you're still doing workplace transformation work. You've got multiple trainers around the country. Is that what the model is?
I do. I have at least 2 or 3 in each of the 4 major cities, but I've got another list of 10 probably that depending on the specialty, like I've got a couple of organizational psychologists, and that they might have a qualification in Herman brain dominance instrument. So only that person can do that instrument, or Myers-Briggs or those. Yep. And also I've got the rights from the company to do Lencioni's 5 cohesive behaviors, which is based on his 5 dysfunctions.
It's like you've got
scalability.
You've got scalability, you've got trainers in different areas, you've got specialists in those different areas. You can supply what they need live, but also in person or virtual, which is online.
Yeah.
And it allows you the opportunity to still play, learn, and grow.
Yeah.
Because if you were just going around from state to state, flying, delivering,
I've always been an avid reader. I've got a curious mind.
Mm-hmm.
I was a niched for 10 years, speed reading and memory, and the business planner said, you must expand your reach. You must have time management, business writing.
Oh, my God.
And I went, well, I didn't do it all at once. And then I went, oh, that's scary. I just know speed reading, because that's how I started as a teenager. I was at university. It was second year university. I was 19, and the speed reading company from America came to town with TV and radio advertising. And my uncle went along to one of those events, and he signed up to do the course. He was a salesperson, a company director, but he had started his life as a teacher. And I think he saw an opportunity there, and he was right, because he then talked to the guy that was doing the intros, which was the Texan from the USA, and sort of said, well, I'm your man for the Brisbane office. And he was. So then I'm just doing my Bachelor of Arts in English. And then he said, you do speed reading. And then afterwards he said, we want you to teach it. I'm thinking, I'm 19. How can I teach it? I was not the extrovert that I have become.
So you're 19, second year uni. Your uncle has got this speed reading thing. He wants you to do it, and he wants you to teach it. So you do the speed reading course.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Big time. I ended up reading at 2,000 words per minute with excellent understanding. And they
all right. So we're a 19-year-old who can read 2,000 words per minute.
Yeah.
This has accelerated your learning, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I got distinctions from then on at uni. And I worked half the time. It was amazing.
And I think I said we've got to see the speed reading course, and I would love to actually get that done, but I'll get to that in a second. So speed reading, suddenly your brain gets an upgrade. You're like, boom, I can learn anything. So you become a trainer for speed reading. How long do you do that for?
Look, off and on. There were, because I went over to the States and had a travel trip. I'd gone to film school. I was doing it part-time while I was at film school.
All right, so hang on. So were you starting to do film school when you first were there at 19?
No, I was doing university. I've done 7 years of full-time.
Yeah, so what were you doing? What was the university piece you were doing?
I was doing Bachelor of Arts and Diploma in Education. Okay. Then I left speed reading because I had to teach for a couple of years.
Yeah, so you're always interested in the educational side of things. Bachelor Arts tend to be like a roadway to where I need to go.
Diploma in Education, and I was teaching for the Queensland Department of Education.
So you start doing some travel, you start moving around, living your life, you come back to the training, you start doing that off and on.
Yeah.
When do you do the art? When does the film school?
It comes a year after I sold ArenaWare and won a trip overseas, because I realised while I felt like a tape recorder doing the presentation, and I went, and I was studying animation part-time at TAFE.
See, everybody who's listening to this, like it's like, oh no, I was studying animation. I was like, okay.
I am a millennial in a boomer body.
It's 100% right.
Yeah.
A renaissance.
And I had a portfolio career all my life.
You know what's interesting is that I studied graphic design. That was my entry into the world that I'm in, which you wouldn't think would be, but it was advertising, right? So it plays right into that. I needed to start doing some marketing things. And so I taught myself how to do animation, right from clay animation to illustrative animation. And I actually created some ads that were animation based. which means I needed to learn film-based skills because I filmed it, stop motion, and all the other things that go.
That's right. I did all of that.
So you're doing these educational pieces and like learn, apply, learn, apply, learn, apply. I did exactly the same path, except I didn't go to school for them. I applied, made mistakes, which is a much more painful process, I think. But it's fascinating. We've got very similar backgrounds, but I didn't have the speed reading.
Right. Well, I've got an online course, so you can have the speed reading.
Yeah, 100%. And so everyone else, I hope they're going to want that too. You watch. It'll be the kernel that people want in this thing. So you've gone through this thing. So how long? You did it for 10 years?
Yeah, off and on, because I went overseas and had a trip, and then this was after film school, and I gave myself a gap year, although I spent 3 months focused full-time speed reading. I earned all the money to be able to afford to go and have a nice long trip. And then when I was coming back from New York, I phoned the speed reading office and said, I'll be in Australia in about a week. He said, we've got a job for you. So it was fine. Anyway, so that's what I say. It was off and on. But there was a point at which the second owner, there were 3 owners, right? The first owner was the Texan, the second owner from California. Then the third owner took over, and that's when I left. Now, what had happened is, just with that third owner, about the same time, that same person had said, we've been contacted by this community college. They've got a book called Speed Read something or other, and they want one of our trainers to teach that course. Would you be willing to teach it as long as you don't teach our secret stuff? I said, that's fine. And you know what? I'd been telling them to try this method and this method and this method all along, and they went, I don't want to know. So then I went, right,
create your own method.
My experimental group. And I would just make it up off the top of my head, make up an activity, and it worked. And at the end of the night, I'd sit down for half an hour and write down what I did.
Oh, I love it. And that's such a big lesson for anybody here who is thinking of starting anything, creating any new product. Having people in the room to actually design the product with you is what it's all about. You can't do it on your own and then take it to market, expect it to work.
They didn't know they were redesigning or designing.
But they were.
But they were the experimental group, and it was working.
What was the big, any learnings or challenges that you had from going from being sort of an employed trainer to actually running your own race?
Well, so I'd had this little community group, and I had a set of a redesigned speed reading course, and I got a job as a conference coordinator for the company that was called BIS Shrapnel. They were doing an international conference, and so I was just on a project to organise their conference. But at the time, I sat down and did the goals for my life, and I wrote down what are 5 topics that I could go self-employed with. And there were things like NLP, I knew enough about that, neuro-linguistic programming, dolphins, I'd been doing dolphin awareness night, and then it was things like I win awards and prizes, I have my own office, I just designed, and I had 43 steps, if you like. And then I typed them up, I looked at them, and I went, I think speed reading's the one. And then I sort of blinked and saw dollar signs, but it was a lot harder than that. But I just blinked and saw dollar signs. I went, that's it. So that's when I actually started promoting my own course. As Accelerate. I think I started as Read Faster. Yeah. And then I got Accelerated Reading and Learning. Yeah. And I did that for 10 years.
So you already knew how to sell when you came into it. You already know how to do the production, which is to teach. What were the challenges in actually running a business? So you had 2 of the very strong pieces, which is that you know how to do the thing, you know how to sell the thing. Did you struggle with the financial side of things, or did that come naturally to you?
The finances were going great, because as long as you do telemarketing and fax outs and mail outs, we were doubling up the business turnover was doubling its income every year. So this was like year 3. I'd proven that it worked. And then the day I got this young woman that had sold advertising for the Manly Daily, started her job, I went, I can't have a full-timer living in my home. And I went out and got an external office. But what I realised is that I'd never really had meetings with her, checked on her. I didn't do all the things you're supposed to do. It was like I would just teach her how to sell. But I didn't do anything around culture or career progression. But you see, no one had ever done that for me.
Yeah.
Things that you know now about leading people, 30 years ago, you just kind of got people to sell and to do a good job and to do the job that you hired them to do.
Well, I learned that one the hard way as well. Like I had people turning over every 2 years and I'm like, this seems too quick. And then I find out that it is. And then I give them a pathway and it averaged out to 4. And I was like, well, that's a bit more reasonable instantly just by letting them know that there was a future. Exactly.
I didn't do that. No one had ever done that for me. It's the reason I left ABC television. I had a lovely job. I managed to fit that in after film school.
Oh, yeah, just throw it away. Yeah, ABC television, yeah.
Yeah, but you see, I wanted to be an executive producer.
Okay.
And I was being hired as a production manager to do cash flow forecasts and scheduling and pay bills. And then when I'd found a mentor somewhere in some other department that said, oh, yes, we'll train you to be a director in the studio, then crunch came, the budget is cut by the Australian government. I actually have to get rid of directors, so there's no pathway for you. And my immediate supervisor had never asked me, where do you want to be in the organisation? Now, I didn't think that I could negotiate and say, this is where I want to go. But you see, even that, I look back now and I go, why weren't you more assertive, Nina?
Yeah, well, it's the old adage that business is the best professional and even personal development course you can ever do.
The big thing for me is to understand that you don't just focus on results. You have to focus on, just having a meeting with a staff member that says, now, what are all your tasks? Which ones do you love? Do you have one or two that you dislike? And I started doing that just intuitively because I'd always wish somebody had done that with me. What's the one or two things you dislike? And I remember when I had a big office, we had 5 or 6 staff, doing that with our gap year student. She was grade 12 between that and university. She said, I don't like doing this and this. I said, oh, really? Well, I'll just see who else in the office wants to do it. We were able to hand that off. And she was happy because I wanted her to stay for the whole year.
And now it's interesting because you train workplace culture and you talk about 9 to Thrive and all the things that go around that. And there's that old, and I just keep throwing out old adages. I should probably stop it. But the one around, we teach the thing that we have the greatest challenge around. But I think the actual reality is we teach the thing we had the greatest challenge around. Yeah. The thing I think is worth noting for everyone listening is that you. While there were challenges, frustrations in the financial stuff, in the HR stuff, the business was still continuing and making money because you could sell and you could implement.
Yeah. And well, here's the thing. If people didn't sell, it was very easy to say, I'm sorry, your results aren't up to scratch.
Yeah.
You're not happy here, are you?
You're not happy here. Yeah, I'm not because I can't make any sales. Now this conversation could go forever, but I'll there's one piece in particular I want to dive into, which is the chunk between moving from speed reading to broadening your services. There was some advice given to you through a marketing and a business plan to broaden. How do you feel about that now, about not staying to your lane? And I'm interested to know how you feel about that because we go full circle and sometimes we go, well, niching, if I had been the person in that thing, I could have just owned it globally. And what did it give you by broadening out?
Oh, it gave me interest. I was starting to feel like a tape recorder.
Yeah, okay.
And it was a new challenge. And what I did is I did things that were within my skill set to begin with. We actually decided to create a new product, which was speed reading video. We just started with speed reading DVD, then super memory DVD, And then I had to work out what's my next topic. I went, look, if there's one topic I've learned in 12 years of business, it's time management. So I bought 20 books on the topic, read them all, created a script. I actually gave myself a week in the Whitsundays to actually write the script 4 to 6 hours a day. By the end, like this is for auto cue, right? To deliver it in the studio. So it started with a video, but then once I had the video, I then actually had the training course, and then we did public courses, and then we offered it as a topic. So time management, business writing, because I had a literature degree, so I know English. I was an English teacher for 2 years, and then the third one was customer service. And then for customer service, see, I'm the sort of person, I don't want to shoot from the hip. I want best practice. I contacted the Customer Service Institute of Australia. It coincided with them doing a training course for people to assess the international standards. I didn't know there was such a thing as an international standard in service. I thought, I do good service. You don't know what you don't know, so you look at best practice. I got trained up as an assessor, and that was all I needed, because I then had a very nice relationship, and still do, with the Customer Service Institute of Australia. And I always say, after a company has done our course, now get involved with the CSIA, because you've just started the journey, and it is a lifelong journey. Customer service, you could win an award, you could get assessed for the standard.
And so I could pull out some lessons out of what you've said, but I'd love you to pull out a couple. What have you learned through your journey? Because it has been a journey. There's so many different things that you've done over that time, and you're still enthusiastic about business and the business you're in. So what can people take from that?
My biggest mistake is that I didn't understand that you have to bring people on board with you. You can only travel as fast as your slowest hiker.
This is something I've got to keep remembering, that the skills that you've got and experiences that you've had that other people do not, which means that they don't have the same lens. They haven't worked at ABC television. They haven't done speed reading. They haven't understood. Well, you probably get all your people to do speed reading, but they haven't gone through the process of selling something that they don't know yet, and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And so there's lenses that we walk around in our own lives with, forgetting that we're wearing them, and people are looking at the world very differently.
But can I tell you this is for small business owners now, and also for anybody, any corporates. If you want, I hear corporates all the time saying, we just can't get good people, or we lack resources. Interns are the way forward. Because an intern, if you pay an intern, you can get 30 days. And if they're happy, they can stay on as a part-time 1 day a week person. But they don't need career progression, and small business isn't doing hierarchy. You don't need a new manager. You're the business owner. If you've only got 10 staff, you maybe don't need someone to think, I'm going to progress to be a manager. But also they come in, they are the brightest minds. They'll often go on to be a doctor, a policy advisor. Yep. They go on to they're captains of industry. You have the gift of them for 6 months or 12 months, 1 day a week, or you could, if it's a gap year, 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. And honestly, they're motivated. They don't lose motivation, because I actually found the answer to why people got demotivated in a business where you're just busy doing stuff. It's Charles Handy's work. He's one of the top thinkers in the world. You might have heard of Peter Drucker. Yeah. He's the second thinker. He's thinker 49 of the great 50 thinkers.
All right, give it to us.
Thinker number 2.
This is Peter called Drucker, Setting Anticipation. She's putting it out there. Charles
Handy. He wrote The Empty Raincoat, and also The Age of Paradox. I read it and I went, this is it. It's the sigmoid curve. It's the S curve. Is that all things that go up must come down. When people start in a job, they're motivated, they're excited, they're interested, they're learning. And then this is where the manager or the owner makes the error. They go, right, they know the job, I'll just leave them alone to do the job. That's where what plateaus must come down. And what he says is you have to start a second curve. Now, what did you do, Russell, that shifted from having people work for you for 2 years to working to you for 4 years? I have a feeling it's part of this sigmoid curve.
Yeah, mine wasn't a career progression because of the size, exactly what we're talking about, right. But it was a knowledge progression. So, yes. What is the new thing we're going to learn? What is the new step we're going to take?
That's it. People need to feel that they're making progress. And also, you as the business owner have a duty to give them training or experiences that they can put on their CV so that will propel them into their next role. Yeah. And if you can tell them this, look, I know you're not going to be with me forever, but I want you to grow inside this role so you can, with confidence, apply for your next role in a few years' time. So it's this whole, you start a second curve, you create something new, which is you maybe rotate them from the job they're in to another job role. And then you hire somebody else, especially if somebody leaves, you could actually move them into that role.
So thank you so much. And I think that the other thing that's worth noting as a lesson from even just this conversation is you've stayed true to you. You're a very Renaissance magician type learner. There's like you're constantly on the search for new and interesting things. So had you decided to stay in that one space, you may have been able to make a larger impact and own that sector, but you would have got bored with it. And if the passion wasn't there, the business would have died. So amazing story, and I really appreciate your time with us.
My pleasure. It's been a lovely journey into the past, present, and future with you, Russell.
Fantastic. So where can people find out more about you, connect with you online?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn and other social media, but ninasunday.com is my speaking site, and brainpowertraining.com.au is is all the training, and the 30-day challenges really is what I really think is the way of the future, because people globally can participate in a challenge, because you just get notifications on your phone. If it comes at 8 a.m. here, it's 5 p.m. over there. So
fantastic. Oh, well, I really appreciate your time. It's fantastic to have you on here, and I'll put stuff in the show notes as well. For everyone who's listening to this, make sure after you listen to every single podcast on the Marketing Report schedule that you go and look at Nina's podcast as well, Manage, Self, Lead Others. That's another great resource for you, which you'll actually get to see more of Nina's inquiring mind and the conversations she loves to have. If you are interested in either starting your journey, looking at your own hero's journey, what is the next step for your business, feel free to come and actually have a chat to me. We can just have a quick brainstorm and explore what are the next steps for you in your business life. Until next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Stay passionate.
I trust you enjoyed this recent episode from Russell Pearson's podcast, The Marketing Report, and hearing about the evolution of my career and how I fell into speaking and training, starting with speed reading, then progressing to productivity, communication, and leading people. You can find The Marketing Report via your favourite podcast app or at russellpearson.com. Until next time, enjoy good things.
Nina Sunday is on a mission, helping leaders transform culture. Nina travels from Brisbane, Australia for in-person presentations Australia-wide. Certified virtual presenter, Nina Sunday presents virtually, globally, for any time zone. To book Nina Sunday CSP to speak at your conference, visit ninasunday.com to request a proposal.